Like, who has been the most exciting person for you tonight?
Oh my God.
Besides me.
Took the words out of my mouth. Besides, I'm a narcissist.
You know that feeling when someone gets handed the keys to Hollywood's kingdom, and somehow the castle ends up in flames? That's how critics describe what happened with Rachel Zegler and Disney's live-action Snow White. What was supposed to be a crown jewel remake reportedly turned into a $170 million loss, and insiders say executives were scrambling behind the scenes just to contain the chaos. This wasn't some small indie gamble either. We're talking about a movie with a budget that reportedly climbed past $300 million after reshoots and marketing, putting it in the same league as Guardians of the Galaxy Rogue One and the billion-dollar Beauty and the Beast remake. And yet, instead of becoming a fairy tale hit, it's now widely labeled one of Disney's biggest live-action box office bombs ever. The controversy didn't start on opening weekend either. For years, Rachel openly criticized elements of the original 1937 Snow White, calling it outdated and describing the prince as a stalker, while signaling that the remake would take a very different direction.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
yeah.
Weird.
Some fans respected her honesty, but others felt she was tearing down the very classic that made the remake possible in the first place. During the press tour, clips of her interviews went viral over and over again. She joked about changing the love story and said they weren't focusing on the traditional romance this time. Online reactions exploded, with people arguing that when you're leading a nostalgia-driven remake, maybe calling the original weird isn't the best marketing move. Look, everyone is allowed to have opinions about older films, but when you're the face of a project banking on childhood memories, publicly distancing yourself from the source material can feel risky. It's like getting hired to run a pizza shop and telling customers you're not really into pizza. Things escalated when politics entered the mix. When the first trailer dropped, instead of keeping the spotlight on the film, Rachel posted her political views under promotional content, which sparked another wave of backlash. Many viewers felt a family fantasy film didn't need to double as a political statement. Reports claimed Disney executives stepped in, urging her team to cool things down and even bringing in social media guidance to prevent further PR flare-ups. Meanwhile, Rachel appeared confident she was standing on principle, framing herself as someone unafraid to speak out. Supporters cheered her boldness, but critics argued it was hurting the film before it even hit theaters. Studios rely on broad audiences for big-budget family films. Alienating large portions of potential ticket buyers, intentionally or not, can create serious business headaches. Insiders say Disney grew nervous early on, leading to costly reshoots and creative shifts aimed at broadening appeal. Test screenings reportedly pushed the studio to restore more romance into the storyline after initial cuts downplayed it. By the time cameras finally stopped rolling for good, estimates suggested the production and marketing costs had ballooned massively. That's blockbuster-level pressure riding on one release. Then March 2025 arrived, and so did the box office numbers. Snow White opened domestically at around $42 million, reportedly below even Disney's lowered expectations. International totals brought the global gross to roughly $205 million before the film exited theaters after just over a month. At first glance, $205 million sounds huge, but here's the twist. Theaters typically keep about half of ticket revenue. That means Disney's share may have landed near $100 million, far below what's needed to recoup a production budget that reportedly exceeded $270 million even after tax incentives. When the dust settled, analysts estimated losses around $170 million. For a studio like Disney, that's not pocket change, it's a headline. Online commentators didn't hold back, calling it a cautionary tale about mixing franchise filmmaking with non-stop controversy. Reddit threads lit up with users dissecting every interview clip. Twitter posts stacked Rachel's confident 2022 press appearances next to 2025 box office reports, captioned with things like, "You played yourself. The internet can be ruthless," and this situation gave it plenty to talk about. Even Disney seemed unusually quiet about the remake afterward. Unlike other princess reboots, the company reportedly didn't roll out a live-action Snow White face character in its parks. Unsold merchandise allegedly popped up in discount stores, fueling speculation that the studio was eager to move on fast. What shocked many observers most was Rachel's response. Instead of retreating from the spotlight, she continued doing interviews, suggesting some of the backlash was rooted in unfair standards placed on women in Hollywood. She was even profiled as a Woman of the Year by a major magazine, where she emphasized that artists shouldn't feel pressured to stay silent on political issues. Supporters saw resilience, critics saw denial. Either way, the debate only deepened the divide between those who believed she was unfairly targeted and those who felt she misread the moment completely. Fast forward to 2026, and Rachel's career path looks different from the franchise trajectory she once seemed destined for. She's attached to a smaller indie comedy titled She Gets It From Me, and she's performing on London's West End stage. Theatre work is respected and challenging, but it's not the same as headlining billion-dollar tentpoles. There have also been whispers about her portraying Gloria Estefan in a biopic. But as of now, that project reportedly remains undeveloped, without confirmed funding or production timelines. Some industry watchers question whether it's concrete or simply early buzz. In Hollywood, reputation matters. When trade reports describe tensions between talent and executives, and when a project loses 9 figures, studios take notice. Fair or not, the label of box office risk can stick fast. What makes this whole saga wild is how avoidable many critics believe it was. If the promotional strategy had stayed focused on the magic, the music, and the fairy tale spectacle, maybe the narrative would have looked different. Even if the film underperformed due to remake fatigue, it might not have reached historic flop territory. Instead, controversy became the headline. Rachel's outspoken style blurred the line between activism and advertising, and the timing proved explosive. Whether you see her as courageous or careless probably depends on where you stand politically. Here's the bigger question though. Is this really just about one actress? Or is it about Hollywood's obsession with recycling classics without reinventing the creative spark that made them beloved in the first place? Disney is still charging ahead with more live-action remakes like Moana and Tangled. The strategy hasn't changed much. The budgets are massive, the expectations sky high, and the nostalgia factor doing most of the heavy lifting. Studios insist these remakes are reimaginings for a new generation. But critics argue that audiences are growing tired of glossy repeats without fresh storytelling soul. When one project collapses this dramatically, it forces uncomfortable questions about branding, casting, messaging, and market timing. So where does this leave Rachel Zegler? For now, she's working, just on a smaller scale. Indie films and stage roles can rebuild credibility over time, and Hollywood has a short memory when someone delivers a breakout performance. But those early franchise keys, the Spielberg discovery moment, the rapid rise into major universes, that lightning in a bottle momentum, it may not return so easily. At the end of the day, this story isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about image, strategy, timing, and the fragile balance between personal voice and corporate blockbuster expectations. Some say she was reckless, others say she was real. Either way, Snow White became a case study in how fast hype can flip into headlines for all the wrong reasons. Now I want to know what you think. Did Rachel deserve the backlash, or was she caught in a storm of remake fatigue and online outrage culture? Drop your thoughts below and let's talk about it.